Imagine this. The year is 1991. Boys and the Hood has just hit theaters. A young Cuba Gooding Jr. is appearing in films and television before becoming one of Hollywood's most respected actors. NWA has already transformed Compton into one of the most recognizable neighborhoods in America. Across Los Angeles, Oakland, Richmond, Vallejo, and San Francisco, Black families are raising children in communities their parents and grandparents spent decades building after leaving the Jim Crow South. For much of the 20th century, California was one of the biggest success stories of the Great Migration. Families from the Deep South, like Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Mississippi, came west looking for opportunity. They found jobs in shipyards, aerospace plants, government offices, factories, schools, and military installations. They bought homes, started churches, opened businesses, and built communities that would eventually shape American culture. California helped produce artists, actors, musicians, athletes, and political leaders. It became one of the most important centers of Black life outside the South. Today, that story is changing. According to reporting from CalMatters, California's Black population declined from roughly 2.2 million people in 2000 to about 2.1 million in recent years. The same reporting found that California's Black share of the population has steadily fallen, while many Black residents have relocated to places like Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. The biggest reason is housing. The same neighborhoods where Black families finally gained access to home ownership became some of the most expensive real estate markets in America. Home prices exploded, rent increased, property taxes increased. Younger generations found themselves unable to purchase homes in the same communities where their parents and grandparents had built roots. But housing alone doesn't explain why this topic remains emotional. To understand that, you have to look at South Los Angeles. For decades, South Los Angeles was one of the largest Black communities west of the Mississippi River. These Black families from the South built churches, businesses, civic organizations, social clubs, and entire neighborhoods throughout the area. Black-owned beauty salons, restaurants, funeral homes, and small businesses helped create an entire local economy. The neighborhood became one of the cultural centers of Black California. By 1970, South Los Angeles was roughly 80% Black. Today, it is overwhelmingly Latino. That demographic change happened over several decades as immigration patterns changed the population, manufacturing jobs disappeared, housing costs increased, and Black families moved elsewhere. For many longtime residents, those changes created tensions that people still debate today. Throughout the 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s, Los Angeles experienced racial conflicts involving Black and Latino gangs, tensions in schools, disputes over political representation, and competition for resources. Local newspapers documented incidents involving racial violence and racial tensions in several schools, as administrators struggled to manage changing demographics. Just look at the case of Antone Austin, a Black man that was erroneously arrested by officers, which also included an Hispanic cop. He was also put in a chokehold. This is not a one-off occurrence. It has been ongoing for many, many years in this state. Many Black and Latino residents worked together, lived together, and built successful coalitions. That is also part of the story. But many longtime Black residents felt California's political priorities were changing as well. California became nationally known for policies designed to protect immigrant communities, and eventually became known as a sanctuary state. Mayors like Karen Bass and Daniel Lurie show where their priorities really belong. Supporters viewed those policies as necessary protections against federal immigration enforcement. Critics argued that state leaders appeared more willing to mobilize around immigrant concerns than around the shrinking population of historic Black neighborhoods. As South Los Angeles changed, some longtime residents began asking difficult questions. Why was there so much discussion about protecting immigrant communities while Black home ownership continued falling? What is the deal with Black neighborhoods shrinking while political leaders celebrated California's diversity? And why were families being priced out of communities their parents and grandparents had helped build? Whether people agree with those criticisms or not, those concerns became part of the larger conversation surrounding Black migration out of California. Another report from CalMatters found that California's Black share of the population fell from 7.7% in 1980 to 5.5% by 2018. The report also found that nearly 75,000 Black Californians left the state in a single year, while only about 48,000 moved in. That represented a net loss of Black residents from a state that once attracted them from around the country. The effects can be seen across California. Churches have fewer longtime members. Historic Black neighborhoods have become smaller. Some Black-owned businesses have lost customer bases that existed for generations. Families that once lived within a few miles of each other are now spread across several states. Recent legal cases have also kept questions about race and housing in the public eye. In 2024, Palm Springs agreed to a $5.9 million settlement involving Black and Latino families displaced from Section 14, a neighborhood where homes were destroyed during the 1950s and 1960s. The settlement followed decades of complaints that local officials had unfairly targeted residents. In another case, California officials announced settlements connected to allegations of appraisal discrimination involving a Black and Latino Bay Area family whose home was allegedly undervalued. Neither lawsuit explains why every family left California, but both serve as reminders that housing, property, and race remain connected issues throughout the state. The migration data tells the rest of the story. People continue leaving California for states where housing is cheaper and home ownership is more attainable. Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina have become popular destinations for former California residents looking for lower costs and more space. California still produces Black culture too, like a slew of artists like Kendrick Lamar. It gave America John Singleton. It helped create NWA and the Black Panthers. The state remains one of the most influential cultural centers in America. The question facing California today is whether the communities that produce that success can survive another generation of rising costs, demographic change, and political neglect. Once a community disappears, bringing it back is a lot harder than celebrating what it used to be. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the sources. Cal Matters published multiple reports documenting California's declining Black population, Black outmigration, and the demographic shifts taking place throughout the state. USC Dornsife examined the transformation of South Los Angeles from a predominantly Black community into a majority Latino community and documented the demographic changes that occurred over several decades. The Associated Press reported on the Palm Springs Section 14 settlement involving Black and Latino families displaced from a neighborhood demolished during the 1950s and 1960s. California's Civil Rights Department released information regarding appraisal discrimination settlements involving a Black and Latino Bay Area family. Recent census and migration data were also reviewed regarding population movement from California to Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. Legal disclaimer: this video is for educational, historical, and commentary purposes. Information presented is based on publicly available records, news reports, government documents, court records, academic research, and historical sources believed to be reliable at the time of publication. Allegations, claims, and legal matters discussed in this report are presented as reported by the cited sources and should not be interpreted as findings of fact unless established through official legal proceedings or public records.